Hey, I'm Bree. I have 3 kids with ADHD. And at 39, I was diagnosed with ADHD myself. So finding the Connected Kids program changed our life from every aspect of changing your life. More importantly than changing our lives, it educated us on what was really going on and how to really help him. So up until the point where we found it, when he was in year 4 and he was 9 and he was struggling and being forced out of an autism school and couldn't read, and meltdowns. Oh, I don't even know when one started and one ended. It was constant. Problems with toileting, problems with everything. So that time when we were drowning, we found it. But it was like a life raft. All the doctors that we'd spoken to were pretty much, these are all the negatives of autism or of ADHD, and he's pretty much just going to have to learn to cope with them the rest of his life, or you're going to have to, the OT, speech therapy, all those kinds of things, which we did for a long time and had no results. This was something that made sense to me. It talked about a left and right brain imbalance, or a left or right brain imbalance. It talked about retained primitive reflexes, which I had never heard of before. But when I learned about them, I realized that they play such a major role in anxiety and toileting problems and dysregulation and food sensitivities. It covers almost everything that he was struggling with, a link to these retained primitive reflexes. The Connected Kids program taught him how to integrate those retained primitive reflexes so that the anxiety pretty much disappeared. The not being able to get to the toilet on time just disappeared. It wasn't a matter of training and strategies and all these kinds of things. Once those things were integrated, at the time we had a cool coach, with his coach through Zoom, it just disappeared. And then I think the added level of the brain balance side of it, the nutrition, the food, brain balance. We discovered that he had a right brain deficit, and around the age of 2 is when it started to delay. And so all those years that he was trying to read, it was like trying to get a 2-year-old, because that part of his brain wasn't balanced, or the primitive reflex had delayed the balance. I don't know if I'm losing you here, but read the book, you'll find out. It was like getting a 2-year-old to read. He wanted to read, he loved books, he loved stories, but his 2-year-old brain wasn't strengthened enough to be able to do it. And so when we integrated the retained primitive reflexes and worked on the deficit side of his brain to strengthen it, all of a sudden, within 3 weeks of doing the program, he couldn't read and he was in year 4. He looked over my shoulder while I was reading Harry Potter 4 to him and read a full sentence like he had been reading his whole life. It wasn't disjointed, it wasn't slow, it was just, here's the sentence. By the end of the 12 weeks, he read a full chapter of Harry Potter 4 and blew my mind. We almost forgot that he used to melt down every 5 minutes or so, because the meltdowns just disappeared as he was doing the program and as he kept working at it and as he kept doing it. He loved the sessions. He loved getting on with his coach. He liked doing the exercises. He liked the challenges. He liked all the things about it. So it wasn't a struggle. It wasn't hard for us, even though that was something I was really worried about. But it changed our lives, and we just couldn't hear that there was no solution anymore. It was too hard to keep living the way that we were without a solution. And all the doctors telling us that there is no cure, there is no solution other than medication, which is a Band-Aid. It almost broke me, I just couldn't function with knowing that this was going to be what he struggled with forever.